Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's I'm going to be reviewing the 2024 Porsche Macan. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Porsche Salt Lake City for giving me some time with this Macan. This particular one and a few others are available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out this and the rest of the inventory that they currently have. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Powering this is a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic. Fuel economy is 19 around town and then 25 on the highway, with power outputs being 261 horsepower and then 295 pound-feet of torque. Now before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the front end, of course, we've got the Porsche emblem there, front and center. And then I've always been a big fan of the Macan style of lights. And then I like the fact that the hood and the lights are like a separate unit. So when you pick up the hood, it just goes over the lights. It's kind of cool. And then down below, you guys can see more lighting here. And then notice how it's kind of like darker in coloration. You do have a sensor there and a camera on the front, and then more darker trim at the bottom. And putting it all together, well, it's the Porsche SUV and it looks like one. Now coming around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 265, 45, 20 in the front, and then 295, 40, 20 in the rear. Now you guys can see with the wheel design, we've got the silver on the top, metallic gray there in the center, and then look at the painted brake caliper, a little bit more subtle with the coloration, but altogether I really like it. I love how the, first off, the hood kind of pops out into the fender area because the hood is so massive. But yeah, that shape looks really cool. And you guys can see it's painted here at the bottom. Same thing with the mirror caps and the door handles as well. And then sorry about the lighting with this shot, but here's your full side profile on the Macan. Now here's a quick look at the key fob. We have our lock and unlock function. We got the opening for the hatch, and of course in normal Porsche fashion, the key looks like a car. Now popping into the cargo area, you guys can see that it's actually quite spacious. The Macan's not a very big crossover, but still really practical back here. Also have a cargo cover built in from the factory as well. And when you're all done, you have this button that's very satisfying to click to close the hatch. Really cool taillight design here, and then notice Porsche there in the center, and then we've got parking sensors at the bottom, and I like the covers of the exhaust tips. And putting it all together, this definitely has such a cool, sleek, sporty design. It's one of the best looking crossovers out there. Now popping inside, you guys can see here with the stitching and the fit and finish with everything is so tight, and I like the white stitching with that. And you guys can see window control, and then even the door handle has just such a nice satisfying feel to it. And then here are the seats. You can see perforated all down the center portion. Now I fit back here actually pretty dang comfortably. You also have a little storage net. We've got some vents back here. You have your own climate zone here in the back, and then notice we've got heated seats, USBs down below, and then headroom back here is actually really good. Now taking a look at the front door panel, you guys can see again with the stitching and everything, and look at this that goes across and then down below with all the padding. We've got all of our window controls, and again they've got such a nice feel to them. And then your mirror adjustments, mirrors do power fold in. You got memory seats on top of that, and there's a quick look at the mirrors themselves. And then taking a look at this front seat, you guys can see again perforated all down the center portion, all of our adjustments here on the side, and then we got our light control here, and then this is the key to turn it on. Now taking a look at the steering wheel, really nice trim all around, again tight fit and finish. Got paddle shifters there on the back which have a nice tactile feel, and same thing with the controls here on the front for everything. And then of course we've got the regular stalks there on the back for all the other controls. Now here in the center you guys can see mostly analog gauge cluster, and you have that little screen there off to the side which we can use to scroll through different menus, see different bits of info on the vehicle. But yeah, such an iconic gauge. In reverse, we do have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. This has the full 360 camera, so you can see it out of every single angle, which is great. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, response time with the system itself is actually really solid. You can see popping into the different screens. So overall, I mean, I would say pretty dang easy to use. Really nice trim here on the dash. Look at the stitching that goes across, and then you can see the Sport Chrono clock as well. And then I love this here. And again, everything just, again, has that tight feel to it and look. Now I've got a bunch of controls in this area, so you guys can see the climate controls, and again the tactile feel when you press the buttons is really good. And then you got controls for like the heated seats, the cooled seats as well. You got your sport mode which you just press in there, and it is haptic feedback with the buttons here. Stability control, you got off-road mode too. See hill descent control, and then you got your steering assist, auto stop start, your parking assistance as well. And of course the shifter, which again feels like you're doing something substantial. Parking brake behind that, and then Macan down below. And they got some cup holder action. And then with the center console, it's got some USBs and everything. Nice padding here on the top, and then you guys can see the trim here on the sides also really nice. And then we do have some like trim here that's a little bit different in terms of the texturing. And then of course we've got our glove box here, nicely unfelt. Got a really nice handle on the outside and then nice trim as well. And then last but not least, we got the controls up top for a bunch of functions. Main thing, sunroof. We do have a full panoramic sunroof up top. Now here's a quick look at the window sticker for the Macan. You guys can see here with the base price and then all of the options on this particular one. After all options, $78,150 is the total MSRP. And let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, both of the mirrors, throughout the rest of the rear. And, well, let us set off here in the 2024 Macan. And, you know, just like other Porsche models, as more of these Macans come in, you know, I'll do reviews on different packages. So this is obviously the base, but, you know, if we can get a review on, you know, I don't know, the GTS, for example, or the turbo, you know, any of those, we'll also make sure to do that. But initially setting off, first off, seats are very comfortable. Definitely does a good job from a luxury perspective with the seats. Suspension's also really good too. It's a bumpy road, and I love the actuation and everything. Like the turn signal feels like you're doing something substantial because it's got like just a satisfying click when you turn it on. And that's just kind of like the general theme of this, is everything's really tight with the fit and finish. It feels like an interior that's going to last for a long time. But yeah, it just feels like you're touching, everything's like high quality, basically. Now, aside from that, transmission's super smooth. Again, it's a dual clutch, but it's very smooth, so you don't really notice that it's a dual clutch, that's the type of dual clutch you want. You want a dual clutch where it's not like, yeah, not super noticeable, which is great. It's pretty quiet too. Pop it into the sport mode now. That was aggressive. You guys heard the pops out the exhaust clip. That was pretty cool. Kind of adds to the flair of the car. And see how this accelerates. The transmission's so good. That's the thing with Porsche transmissions, is they're so quick to shift, they're so smooth that it makes the car feel quicker than it actually ought to be, given the power figures. And obviously there's always Porsche horsepower. I feel like Porsche just underrates everything. They're always like, yeah, it's got this much horsepower, and it's like, are you sure? Are you sure about that? But let's get our acceleration here with the Macan. I love the little turbo blow-off noise it just made. But yeah, the power is really, it's not insane, but like with the transmission, it feels good. Like, it feels quick, surprisingly. And you hear 261 horsepower and you're like, that's not that much, but it definitely punches above its pay grade. So to sum things up here with this, I think it drives really well, you know, from a luxury car perspective, and then also from a fun sport car perspective as well. So I think it does great on both fronts. And, you know, on top of that, yeah, I think it looks good. And here's kind of the thing. So I've seen some comments and people saying that, you know, how expensive Porsches are. And I definitely understand that. here's kind of my thought is, it's, you know, comparing Porsches to like other cars, it's like, in my mind, comparing like a plastic cup to like a chalice, right? They both do the same thing, right? You can drink liquids out of them, but one of them is like super ornate, really well built. The other one is just, you know, mass produced, and it, you know, again, even though it does the same thing, it's not high quality, and you're not really gonna like if you had a chalice, you're gonna probably like try to keep it nice and all that kind of stuff. If you just have a plastic cup, if it breaks, you don't care, and you're not really gonna worry too much. Man, I'm horrible at parking. You're not gonna worry too much about keeping it nice. And so that's kind of the way with the Porsches, is like, it's like, you're not just like, you get performance, but you're not just paying for the performance, you're also paying for the build quality and everything. And it's something that, like, the only way for you to understand this is to like go into a Porsche dealership and like sit in one and just like, again, like the switch gear and the controls and everything, and just kind of touch everything, and you'll understand, you know, what I'm talking about with the tactile feel and with the build quality and everything. But let me know what you guys think about the Macan.